about Parliament, I can tell you that while the broad-based government is a good thing for this country, I think one of the unintended effects it has had on Parliament is to reduce the level of scrutiny and opposition to bills that may not be good.
Does it mean members of Parliament are failing Kenyans?
Yes, I think we are. What it has done, some of us who question this are then said to be opposed to the broad-based government. I have, for example, because I have usually questioned some of these matters during debate, and then they have then concluded, some people have concluded that I'm one of those who are opposed to the broad-based government. But that is not so. I support the broad-based government, but that 10-point framework agreement does not say anywhere that we must support legislation and proposals even if they are not correct. And therefore, I have continued to speak out against what I think are proposals that are improper at whatever cost. For example, when before the last session, there was proposal to privatize Kenya Pipeline Company, you remember?
Yes.
I spoke very strongly against it, and a lot of our colleagues were in opposition so that they withdrew the bill. And then, you know, the way Parliament works. And then this session, what they then did is on a particular day when we had seen the order paper and nothing like privatization of KPC was on it. And so no one was prepared. And then at about 2:30, they circulate another order paper that now has it only to those basically who are in the house. So some of us now learned, and by the time we got there, it had been endorsed within less than 30 minutes or something like that. And I'm on record as questioning the speaker that is a misuse of amendment of the order paper. The order paper is supposed to notify not just members of Parliament, but everyone at large that there will be this business at this time.
Right.
So I called it legislation by ambush. And so some of us have continued to call this. When the cybercrimes law was being debated, we opposed it. But what happens in Parliament ultimately? There's something called mood of Parliament. That mood is the most difficult thing you can deal with, because you can go there, you have your minutes, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5. You will wax lyrical about why the legislation is bad, what it will do and all that, and the speaker and the rest of your colleagues will just be looking at you. And then the speaker will put the question. Once that question is carried, that's it. Whether you opposed or not, collectively, they will say Parliament passed it. So even those of us who opposed it, you are lost in that sea. And so there's nothing you can do. You can roll on the ground, you can jump, you can go to a witch doctor, but it will not change the decision. So I think that it is true, and I'm on record. I think Parliament needs to be more independent than it is, because collectively we are supposed to check the executive. Even before the broad-based government, Parliament was passing legislation, policies, motions that some of which were not quite correct. We have voices that endeavor to do that. But when you have the supermajority in Parliament, when you have the Speaker of Parliament, who is actually a leader of one of the parties that formed the executive coalition, then you understand why Parliament may not be as robust as it ought to be. And I admit that collectively, we are failing Kenyans. And we ought not to do that. But I think the saving grace is this too. Whether few or however few, I must encourage those of us who still have the courage to call out the things that are wrong, to continue calling them out, even if we lose out in numbers. But secondly, the saving grace is that a lot of times, and if you look at a lot of these laws, if you look at the clips that I usually contribute in Parliament, I would always remind them that remember that we whatever we do might still face scrutiny in court. And in many times, my predictions in terms of how things will go in court have come to pass. So the fact that the courts remain to review what Parliament has done is also another saving grace. A lot of times in Parliament, when things are to be done, they would also, there are those people who would come and tell you, Otiende, this thing that you're posing, it is actually Baba who has instructed that we go the other way. Fortunately for someone like me who was always very close to Raila, I would call him and ask him, is this the position? And many times he'd be surprised and say, but I've not discussed this with anyone.
Right.
So the fact that Baba is not there might help the situation a little more because people will not invoke his name. You know, the level of independent thinking in terms of how to debate, how to vote might improve. But for those who would not be able to call him like I would, you know, a lot of them were swayed by that, you know, persuasion that it is actually Baba who has instructed.
Rarieda MP Otiende Amollo has set the political stage ablaze with a bold warning that Kenya's so-called broad-based government is slowly turning parliament into a toothless house. Speaking with his signature, calm yet commanding tone, Otiende questioned whether the spirit of unity being sold to Kenyans is actually weakening the very foundation of democracy. The power of oversight and independent thinking in the National Assembly. He urged that the broad-based arrangement meant to unite UDA and ODM under one political umbrella has blurred the lines between government and opposition. According to him, Parliament is no longer the arena of honest debates it once was. Instead, MPs are now afraid to speak up, fearing they will be branded as enemies of unity if they dare question government policies. Every voice of dissent is now seen as rebellion, he said, lamenting how genuine criticism is being silenced in the name of political peace. Otiende warned that this silence comes at a heavy price, the death of accountability. He reminded Kenyans that MPs were not elected to clap for the government, but to represent the people's voices, even when those voices are uncomfortable. Oversight isn't disloyalty, he said. It is the heartbeat of democracy. He further revealed that the famous 10-point framework of the broad-based government never required blind loyalty. It was meant to promote inclusivity, not submission. Yet now, any attempt to question the executive is seen as betrayal. Otiende painted a picture of a parliament that risks becoming a rubber stamp, where laws are passed without scrutiny and where power slowly drifts from the people's representatives to the executive. His remarks have sparked conversation across the country, especially among young voters and civic groups who fear that Kenya might be slipping into a one-voice system disguised as unity. As one activist put it, we wanted peace, not silence. Otiende's message is a reminder that democracy doesn't die with coups. It fades when citizens stop questioning and when leaders stop listening. His words echo louder than ever. Unity without accountability is not democracy. It is control with a smile. Stay tuned, because if this debate continues, Kenya's parliament might just find itself fighting for its voice before 2027 even arrives. Stay safe, stay engaged, and keep the conversation going.